Hello and welcome. Welcome to another webinar. This one is on infertility. Hello, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Lena. I am a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. I have masters in acupuncture and herbal medicine, as well as bachelor's in nutrition. I am a certified hypnotist and a certified recall healing health coach. And this is my story. It happened to me, and I will share with you the details of how I struggled with conceiving. And from the very beginning, I want you to try on a new perspective, a perspective that is not taught in school, that is not taught anywhere. I want you to imagine that everything in your life happens for a reason. Everything. Everything bad and everything good. I want you to wear this perspective like you wear a new coat. See if it fits you. And then if it does, leave it on. If it doesn't, just take it off. What I learned on my journey, which I will share with you, is that everything happens for a reason. When we find the exact reason, magic happens. That's the recipe. So let us begin. Welcome to Infertility webinar. Now, first of all, if you struggle with this, I want to give you a huge hug. I want to send you a huge hug because I know what it feels like. I want you to know you're not alone. I want you to know that we'll find a reason for it. And this may start a new journey of health for you. So, medical disclaimer, you guys, I am not a doctor, nor do I claim to be. This is not a medical advice. This is not a treatment. This is not a cure. The purpose of this webinar is for informational purposes only. This is educational video, and I share everything I've learned on my healing journey. For those of you who do not know me yet, I have been diagnosed with 9 autoimmune diseases 11 years ago, and I am now in full remission thanks to natural therapies. Thanks to what they call now alternative medicine, which is the original medicine, because traditional Chinese medicine is the first system of medicine that is still used until today. And what I have discovered on my journey to healing are 3 aspects. Those aspects are physical, emotional, and energetical. Every disease, every symptom, every condition has a physical reason, emotional reason, and energetical reason. If we address all 3, that's a recipe for success. But notice what is happening. Western medicine concentrates only on the symptoms. They don't care about your emotions. They do not care whether or not you live in a healthy environment. They do not care about your energy. Okay. Emotional. This is when I talk about emotional aspect, I mean new German medicine. I mean recall healing. I mean your own body, your own biology of a cell, which is best explained by Dr. Bruce Lipton in his book, Biology of Beliefs. Now, energetical aspect, that is all traditional Chinese medicine. In traditional Chinese medicine, our body is mapped out for us. There are points on the body that correspond to meridians of an organ, then correspond to that organ and to the emotion behind it, because even energy responds to your emotions. So we can say we are very emotional being, especially when we're trying to become mothers. So this is what I've discovered, and it is also in my ebooks. So I always start with conventional medicine approach, which is a definition. So this is a definition by National Institute of Child Health and Development. And they claim that infertility is defined clinically as not being able to achieve pregnancy after 1 year of having regular unprotected intercourse, or after 6 months if the woman is older than 35 years of age. So this is the definition. It doesn't tell you why, because there could be multiple reasons. And I always say that healing is multidimensional. We may have same symptoms, but it was caused by different reasons. When you find your reason, which may be different from mine, then you will understand why this happened to you. So statistics. Infertility touches about 9% of men in the US, about 11% of women of reproductive age, and they consider reproductive age for women anywhere from 15 to 49, and for men till 50. So just some information for you. Now, my story. So as you know, I'm a mother of 3 healthy boys, which to me is a miracle, considering I was born with MTHFR gene mutation, and I passed this mutation to one of my sons. But now we know how to take care of it. My first pregnancy was lost. I got pregnant at 25 with twins, and one of them died early on, about 9 weeks, and then the other one just died. They just told me the heart stopped at 16 weeks. They didn't know why. No one could explain to me what happened. What did I do wrong? How could have I prevented this? What can I do in the future not to not be in this situation? No one told me anything. I had yet another pregnancy at 27. That was my first son. The pregnancy was high risk because I developed gestational diabetes, which the doctors couldn't control. But I know why today. And I developed preeclampsia at the very end, so I had to have a C-section. After my first son, I had another pregnancy a year after, which was ectopical pregnancy. And for that, I received the shot, and that was it. No one told me why. No one told me what's going on. No, and after that, I was struggling to get pregnant. So we went to a specialist. And the thing is, in my relationship, that only I got tested. No, they never tested my ex-husband. And it could explain a lot. But the doctor suggested, because I had such a low chance of getting pregnant, she suggested in vitro. And I just said, it's too much. It's just, I literally felt like someone is dictating how my intercourse is going, because she was like, the doctor literally told me what time of the day to have intercourse and on what days. And it was like, emotionally, I didn't want to have intercourse that day. And so it felt very fake to me. It felt like it's not me. It felt just like against me. I don't know if you can relate to that. And so we stopped trying completely, and I got pregnant out of the blue. And with my third son, I was told it's a very interesting story. So I had children every 3 years. And when my youngest at the time was 3, I was having, again, PCOS symptoms. So I went to the doctor and I said, okay, well, this is happening again. You know, my period's irregular. It's very painful. It's very heavy. And they did an ultrasound. They said, oh, because your ovaries are not working, it's like you don't have an ovary because it's filled with cysts. So they said, okay, come back in a month because you'll never get pregnant like that. And I wasn't trying at that time. Consciously, I don't think I was trying at that time. Unconsciously, the biology of a cell was telling me to have a baby. And so the doctor said, come back in a month and we'll give you something to help you get pregnant. And I come back in a month and they say, oh, you're pregnant. Nobody knows how that happened. Apparently, I don't know. They said I'll never be pregnant. And somehow, with all those cysts on my ovaries, I got pregnant. So I have 3 boys. I'm very happy. I mean, being a mother is the role of my life. I absolutely love it and adore it. And I love that I'm learning how to be a mother because I never had a good example. I came from a long line of suffering women. I came from a long line of women who hated men. My grandmother went through World War II. And she just hated men. She never got married. She had a child with a man who was who was married. My mother got divorced. She never found a happy relationship. I also got divorced. The more I tried not to be like my mother, the more I became her. And so I got divorced also. Completely different terms, completely different scenario. We are friends with my ex-husband, and if you are interested, I will talk a little bit more about this process, but everything happened perfectly the way it did. It was a no conflict divorce. And I am not a single mother. I'm a single woman because my children, they have their father. So My story was very early, I was on birth control. Yes, very early, probably 17, because I knew back then I do not want to have children. Like, my subconscious mind was telling me I am not fit to be a mother. I had no example. No one showed me how to be a mother. And if I didn't heal my mother's wound, I would hurt my children the exact same way I was hurt. Keep that in mind. Because unless you heal, you will repeat the whole process and you will pass it down. So I was on birth control. I didn't know that it causes severe side effects. If you're interested in those, there's a wonderful book. This book tells you which vitamins, which minerals, what prescription drugs take away from you. And so I was depleted of vitamin B2, B6, B12, B9, you name it. I did micronutrient testing. And yes, if you're trying to get pregnant, I highly recommend you do micronutrient testing, which is testing of your vitamin levels from your blood. Most labs do it. And do HTMA, which is hair tissue mineral analysis. You want to make sure that your body is a perfect house for your baby. You want to make sure you have enough vitamins, enough minerals. Doctors, obstetricians, they tell you to take a prenatal vitamin without checking your vitamin levels. And imagine the fact that, yes, even vitamin and mineral toxicity is real. And it happened to me, and I share my story a lot. I developed a magnesium toxicity. No one knew why, because no doctor or even a naturopath thought to check my vitamin B6 levels. So right after I got off the birth control, which I was about 20, 21, where I met my ex-husband, right away, within 6 months, full-blown PCOS. Of course, they say birth control does not cause PCOS. Well, it did in me. Nobody knew I had MTHFR gene mutation before they suggested birth control to me. Now, I'm not against it. It helped me. So I'm telling you to do your own research. I'm not telling you not to take it. I don't regret anything in my life. I am simply stating the facts. What happened after what? And so with PCOS, I gained weight. I looked like a man. I felt like a man. I was in masculine energy. And that was also caused by my perspective of what a relationship is. I started a committed relationship with my ex-husband, and my perspective completely changed on the world, which was caused by my childhood beliefs. And we'll talk more about this. So it affected my ovaries. It caused hormonal imbalances, insulin resistance, weight gain, hair growth on chin, arm mustache, chest, menstrual issues. I also lost a lot of hair. I was going bald. I mean, it was a whole nasty scenario. I do have a webinar on this. So let's get into, so that's my story, and I'll get in more details. Let's get into German new medicine, which is a recall healing. Now, those are our emotional causes. Like I said, my perspective of what a relationship is, my belief of what a relationship is based on what I watched as a child, completely changed the way I behaved and completely changed the decisions that I made after I started a committed relationship. So when all else fails, please keep in mind that there's always a reason. So what do I mean when all else fails? Your body's in perfect health. Your mineral levels are perfect. Your vitamin levels are superb. Your diet is amazing. You're exercising, you're thriving, right? And still you can't get pregnant. Well, then we look at emotions. Because your brain, in German new medicine, your brain can keep a conflict and cause you physical symptoms because it wants you to resolve the conflict, and it will literally, your body is showing you symptoms of a conflict that is on subconscious level, that is completely emotional in nature. Because in recall healing, Dr. Gilbert Renaud believes, and it has been proven, that your brain, your body already has all the tools to do what it needs to do. If it doesn't do it, that means there is always a reason. So I will explain this reason to you. So find a reason to find what will help you, because we all have different reasons. Okay. So recall healing for men. This is about infertility of men. So when a man thinks on unconscious level, on that subconscious level, I protect myself from all attacks directed at my testicles, my masculinity. I feel threatened. This is when a man has an overbearing mother who is mocking him, who's making fun of him, of his masculinity, telling him he's useless. This belief can occur. Or if a man thinks I cannot have a child, unconsciously, it can translate into him having a very dominating father. To be a man in such a situation is a threat of death, because then the man thinks, I am second wolf of the pack, I cannot fertilize. There's literally a clash of titans, right? And that happens when we have either overbearing father, or if a boy has an mocking mother. So it also goes back to childhood. Questions to ask: was I supported as a child? Was I loved as a child? Did I have a safe environment that I grew up in? Because all your beliefs come from there. So this is kind of eye-opening for some of you. I know it's fascinating to me, because emotional healing made the biggest difference when I was healing my autoimmune diseases. So another question to ask is, were there instances of child death in your family? It is a memory conflict for the brain. So infertility is a solution for the brain, because your brain will think, well, why should I have a child if it dies so young? I will protect you. Nothing happens in your body. Please understand this. Nothing happens in your body unless your brain sends a signal. Nothing will happen. Do you understand? Your muscles will never regenerate. You'll never get a period. Your organs will be affected. It is all the headquarters of the brain that sends a signal to your entire body all the time, even when you sleep. Nothing happens without your brain's involvement. Okay? First you think about it, then it happens. So let's get into it, because it's quite fascinating. So what we don't know: chronic stress. My dear, are you stressing about being pregnant right now? Well, guess what happens when you are chronically stressed? When your cortisol is all over the place, it suppresses ovulation. It alters menstrual cycle. It can cause inflammation. In men, it can impair sperm production and quality. And so every stressful reaction of when you're putting pressure on yourself, when things are not going the way you want them to be, there's only one reason that we stress, and that is when some things are not going our way. We have a stress reaction. Our nervous system goes into fight or flight. Yeah, we're getting ready to defend ourselves. And so physiological changes happen in your life. Can you accept another way? When I was trying to get pregnant with my second son, I just accepted that, okay, God, whatever power of creation, wanted me to have one child. I'm happy. I'm happy I got the one. And I completely let it go. Next thing I know, I'm pregnant. But I was able, literally, I'm telling you, I just made peace that I will never have children again. Secretly in my heart, I wanted them, because it's the best for feeling in the world. It's like I'm a portal for a soul to come into this world, and I can care for this soul and guide it and be there for them. And it was fantastic, but I let it go. The moment you let go, your nervous system relaxes, and then it says, okay, I'm ready. But that is something also for you to consider. So stress management. For this purposes, I created preventative lifestyle coaching program to help you with your perspective. Nothing is personal. You believe it or not, nothing is personal. So this program is available on my website, umlacademy.com. Teaches new perspective. It teaches neutrality. I give you life hacks, tools. I explain the universal laws for you. It consists of webinars and a worksheet and many exercises for you to do to change your perspective. It's a wonderful tool, and I share with you everything that throughout the years worked for me. Recall healing. Okay, so when you find a solution, the brain will automatically send the signals of healing. How do we get there? We ask questions. I highly, highly recommend journaling. I developed a habit of journaling every morning. It's the best addiction I've ever had. It helped me uncover many, many hidden secrets that my soul was carrying. So we inherit generational issues up to 4 generations back. Something you carry may not even be yours. Did you know that? And there's a wonderful book about it that I want to mention, and I think I mentioned it in a future slide. It is called "It Didn't Start with You" by Mark Wallen. It helps you understand the perspective that you may carry something that was started by your great great grandmother. And so now we're going to go over every organ of reproductive organ because they all have a different meaning in recall healing. We're still on the emotional side of things, and we have lots to go through. Vagina. Okay. So in recall healing, it is a gate to your womanhood. It is the count of your sexual contacts. Questions to ask. Do I want sexual contact? Is my partner adequate? And you have to be 100% sure. There cannot be most of the time, but sometimes no. Your body knows. You have to understand that your body listens to every thought you have, every single cell. You have between 30 to 40 trillion cells in your body. Every single one of those cells has its own vibration, and it is listening. And that's how the baby is created, from our cells. So if you have doubt about your partner or about the future, your body will know. You will never, ever lie to your body, and the body will never lie to you. Another question, would I want contact, but I am afraid? Who is my gate open for? Who do you let through the gate? Meaning, do you surround yourself with toxic people on a daily basis? This is something for you to answer, because our safety, our regulated nervous system sometimes depends on that. Cervix. It is your frustration. Something is off in my sexual life. Partner is not the kind of husband or father as I would want him to be. I mean, he's okay. He's like 5 out of 10. So I could have done worse. I wish I could do better, but I'm so unsure. I'm not going to move forward. Your body is listening. Okay. So if a lady has lack of satisfaction, no orgasms. Okay. That's important because your orgasm depends on many things. Do I feel safe? And then issues of the cervix. So if it's a viral overload, in recall healing, it is the emotion of shame. If it's bacterial, we carry anger. And if it's yeast, it's sorrow or sadness. Okay, so just for your information, uterus, our inner house, it's the quintessence of our femininity. It's our biological need to be a mother. And I can tell you right now, from my experience and from knowing me, I had my children from my biological need, not from my emotional need. And I will explain this. But let's get through all the organs first. Can I create a home for my baby that I always dreamt of? Is the home I live in safe? Was the home I grew up in safe? Can I really be the mother I always wanted to have? Those are the questions for you, my dear. Ovaries, it's our motherhood. It is the questions. Am I fit to be a mother? What values do I carry that are worth passing down? I had none. I had to learn them. Will I be a better mother than I had? All mothers make mistakes. Be the best mother you can be. Now, I had PCOS and it was very emotional. It was also physical in nature, but very emotional to me. I was not happy as a child. My mother was severely depressed. She gave up on life. All she did was cry. All she did was complain. There was no motivation. I became a clown very early on to cheer her up. I took on a responsibility as a little girl to cheer up a grown woman, and I lost my childhood. I lost my authenticity. And I made a vow, I will never do this to my children. My mood is my responsibility. I will never make my children responsible for making me happy or laugh, because my happiness is a choice. It comes from within. My children have nothing to do with that. Okay. And I learned that through my experience. And I'm currently writing an ebook about it, about parenthood, because I've learned a lot. Let's just say I've learned a lot. But I want you to understand that mothers make mistakes. I do not blame my mother. She only did what she knew how to do. She didn't learn to do something different. You have to learn something different. She did not have the energy, the resources, or motivation to do anything different. I do. And I'm doing it also for her. I'm healing myself to heal her, because I know that depression is not the way. And I've suffered with clinical depression three times in my life. And it was difficult. And I came out of it. And I've learned how to do it. And so I'm not going to repeat her mistakes. I know that now, because I make a decision to be the best version of me as a mother for my children. My children deserve the best version of me. This is actually how I healed. The story of my healing is that Western medicine failed me. I was dying. I was on 13 prescription drugs. I was getting worse and worse. And one night when I felt like I'm not going to wake up, I literally said goodbye to the children. I thanked them. I was crying. I was saying goodbye to them. And at night, I didn't expect to be awake the next morning, but I did. And at night, I made a decision, and it was a decision. The decision was made by my heart, and it said, I'm going to be healthy. And the mind said, but how? I don't know how. And I said, I don't care. The heart said, I don't care. I'm just going to be healthy. I just know it. The children deserve a healthy mother, the best version of me. And so I woke up very grateful that I am here. And instead of Googling symptoms, I started Googling remedies. I started ignoring my symptoms. I started being aware of what's in our house. What's in our diet, what do we think of, what kind of shows we're watching, everything. And that led me to where I am here today. And that's what I share with you on a daily basis. It was a decision. You can make a decision to be the best mother you can be right now. And the rest will follow. The universe always conspires to help us at all time, but the universe is waiting for you to make a decision. So menstruation. In recall healing, menstruation, if it's heavy, your body's telling you, I don't want a child. When it's light, your body's telling you, do I accept my femininity? Am I comfortable with it? Do I feel fine with it? And if it's painful, then your femininity is painful. Then it's your childhood belief, and you can relearn how to be a true woman, because our true power is femininity. I didn't learn this in childhood. I learned everything I know today about feminine energy by my experience, and I wrote this amazing ebook for you, Queen by Choice, which is available on my website, umlacademy.com. It explains the yin and yang balance. It teaches you how to play the game of understanding, because most of us, we play the game of blaming. And so everything I've learned from traditional Chinese medicine perspective, from functional medicine perspective, from my experience, and from my past, my childhood traumas, my entire transformation is in this book, in this ebook. So I highly, highly recommend, because it's a wonderful perspective to know. Now, endometriosis and recall healing. Questions. Can I accept my femininity? Did I create a home that I wanted to grow up in? Do I feel safe in my own house? Do my children feel safe? Am I ready to be a mother? Do I feel the need to forgive my mother? Because everything goes back a generation before. So those are just some questions. And sometimes, my friends, all your brain needs is for you to ask it the right question, and it can provide a solution for the brain to start sending healing signals to your body. Endometriosis, it can be complicated. What can I change to improve my life? What emotions I need to process and accept? How is my relationship with my mother? What was my mother's relationship like with her mother? It didn't start with you, Mark Wallen. That is the book that I'm recommending because was there any fear involved? With endometriosis, there's always aspect of fear. Am I afraid of my mother? Was my mother afraid of her mother? Was I afraid of my grandmother? So it can go back many generations if we do not address it. Again, this is something for you to consider, and you will know whether or not it resonates with you. Now, happy relationship needs those things, my friends. If we didn't know, there it is for you. We need respect, ability to be yourself, easily expressing emotions and needs, support, understanding, trust, love, acceptance, and appreciation, among other things, because we are all bio individual. But what if your relationship brings fear, guilt, obligation, uncertainty, chaos, lack of acceptance or support, manipulation, blame? You have to be someone else because if you're yourself, you the other person gets angry or aggravated, or it's duty. You got married, things changed, and now you just stay because oh, it's my duty to be the wife. So we have two different types of relationships. And then when we address our beliefs, it is said that we marry the parent that we have unfinished business with. I married both my father, who was a narcissist, and my mother, who was a manipulator. What is the purpose of your subconscious? Because your subconscious will always pick a partner that has the best potential to play those roles for you. It is for your purposes of healing and evolution. You're evolving with that person. That is exactly what happened in my marriage. I evolved, I healed, I learned this. I didn't even know I had those issues until my ex-husband was continuously showing me those patterns. But believe me, it took me years and years to figure it out. You cannot heal without being aware of the problem. So really, it's not a difficult relationship. It's that that person is literally showing us what we have within ourselves, because guess what? We attracted that person, meaning we have some unfinished business within ourselves. And going back, reevaluating relationship with your parents is the key. And that's what Mark Wallen talks about in his book, It Didn't Start With You. Very fascinating story. So traditional Chinese medicine. In traditional Chinese medicine, it is very individual care. Infertility affects kidneys, the spleen, heart, and liver. The cause is always imbalance, whether it's an imbalance of minerals, vitamins, fluids, blood, emotions. It's always imbalance. Now, we say if a person is cold, you need to warm up. If you're hot, you need to cool down. And we do advise on a nourishing diet, which consists of mostly home-cooked meals, because we want you to be aware of what you're putting in your body. So toxins by National Institute of Health. We do have to talk about toxins. Toxic accumulation, especially from chronic exposure to everyday environmental chemicals and pollutants, is widely recognized by medical experts as a contributing factor to both male and female infertility. Are you exposed to toxins? If you live in a city, like most of us does, yes, we are. Sometimes your detox needs help. If you have MTHFR gene mutation, oh, you do need help. So the cause of toxins are hormone disruption, cellular and DNA damage, and it impairs fetal viability. What to look for? We're looking for endocrine disrupting chemicals, which is in most sense. Heavy metals, pesticides and herbicides, air pollution, mold exposure, even preservatives in your every single day household products. So what did I do? What did I do? But that was after I had my children. I actually had a client who did the very first step of foundational protocol, and she had to stop because she got pregnant. And we do not recommend doing a full-blown detox support while pregnant. While there's some supplements that are safe to take, on most of them there is no data, so we do not know what if it would even affect you. But if you have 4 months, if you're not in a hurry and you want to prepare your body, this is a protocol for you. It supports your detox pathways. It unclogs your drainage pathways. It is all herbal. It works on cellular level. If you're interested in working with me, I do a free herbal consultation on Instagram. This protocol was so good for me. It helped me reverse my autoimmunity. I did it twice because my body was literally calling for it, and it worked magic. I cannot say enough about herbs. And as you know, I'm an herbalist. Now, there's other cell core options. As you know, I'm a practitioner for cell core biosciences. Now, we may also do a detox support kit. Those are 1 month protocols. Maybe your liver is struggling. Maybe it's a metabolic disease. Maybe it's mycotoxins from mold exposure, or it could be candida. Either way, you want to make sure your body is well prepared to welcome a new guest in it. Okay? You want to make sure you're healthy and optimal. Your health is optimal. You want to make sure that you can provide for your baby. If you do not have what you need and instead you have toxins, guess what's going to happen? Complications. Those happened for me. 3 pregnancies, high risk, okay? Gestational diabetes out of control, which means metabolic disease, okay? Insulin resistance, which, and then at the very end of my 3rd pregnancy, I developed cholestasis of pregnancy, which means my liver was failing. So, and I never did support my detox, my liver detox, never. No doctor ever told me that there's even an option that I can do a protocol, that I can do some herbal support, and my body will automatically find its way to its homeostasis. So I am here to tell you, prepare your body first. Do not be preoccupied with thinking, why am I not getting pregnant? Instead, ask yourself, am I fit to be pregnant? Because we want you to be in perfect physical and emotional state. And I do need to tell you about genetic expression. Now, I have a lot of information on my YouTube channel. I have a webinar on detox support, on liver, which is the MTHFR, on PCOS, on PMS, on nutrition, on self-acceptance. You name it, I have it for your purposes of understanding. But I want you to understand, and I'm not sure if I do have a slide about it or not, but I want you to understand genetic expression of your child. Because when I was born with severe jaundice and I was told, my mother was told that I may not survive, and I required a blood transfusion in my 2nd day on this planet. Why did I have such a severe genetic mutation? Our genetic mutation is highly dependent on the emotional state of our mother. 3 months before conception, during the pregnancy, and during breastfeeding. What does it mean? It means that our mother literally gives us her hormonal cocktail. And based on her well-being, emotional well-being, that's how our genetic expression will be. Some of us will be super healthy. And like me, some of us may be born with genetic mutations, and I have a couple. And I passed them down also because when I was pregnant with my 2nd son, I was extremely angry. When I was pregnant with my 3rd son, I had a nervous breakdown. And so I know that I have only the rest of my life to make up for it for my children, because it's my fault. I take full responsibility today for my emotions that I was not aware of back then. When my mother was pregnant with me, she was alone. She was not supported. She was angry. She wasn't loved. She actually thought if she can have me, it'll fix her marriage. It didn't. It made it worse. And so my genetic expression was that of anger. Anger, if you listen to my liver webinar, you will understand that in traditional Chinese medicine, the liver meridian is anger. The gallbladder meridian is resentment. And so from the very early age, I was a very sickly child. Nobody knew why. Nobody knew about genetic mutations. Nobody understood that I'm not methylating, that I'm not absorbing my vitamins the correct way like everybody else. And that wasn't my fault. That was representation of a genetic mutation, of a emotional state of my mother. And there's more and more materials and studies of prenatal health right now. And I remember when I was pregnant, every pregnancy, I made a decision that, and I read it somewhere, and it was wonderful. I read it somewhere that every time I'm in a car and driving, I will listen to classical music. And you guys, there's studies done that show that the babies are calmer, the mother is calmer, and I'm so glad I chose to do this. I would play Mozart all the time. And now I make fun. My children are very intelligent and they're doing wonderful at school. And I always make a joke about it, that it's thanks to my listening to classical music when I was pregnant with them, because, now the studying comes easy to them, which of course is a joke. There's no proof on that. But that was something I chose to do, knowing as a mother. And I want to talk to you about remember when I mentioned that my need to have children was strictly biological. It didn't come from the emotional side of me, because back then I knew I wanted this life. I knew I wanted to be a wife. I knew I wanted to be a mother. My life was very stable. I had a great job. I had zero debt. I was doing great. And so I decided, okay, it's time. We got a dog. It wasn't enough. I wanted to be a mother. And everything changed after that, like magically. I kind of became a slave, and I created a prison with my own mind, because I could leave at any time, but I was too afraid to. So it took me many, many years before I actually got the courage and energy to say, listen, that's not going to work for me. Like, I tried, and I've spent the last 5 years of my marriage trying to fix it. I lost a lot of energy, and I healed, and I changed myself, and I knew that this is just not going to work. Because when one person evolves and the other one does not choose to do so, it's perfectly fine. And it's also perfectly fine to say, hey, this is not for me. And what do I mean by biological need? It means that my body really craved to be pregnant. I did not wonder back then, what values do I carry that I want to teach my children? I had no values back then. I don't think I even loved myself back then. But I knew my body had the biological need to be a mother. Today, it would be completely different, because today I know how much values I have, how much I believe in, how much I want to accomplish. I discovered this good, kind side of life. I learned so much. I have so much to pass down, and I take extreme pleasure in educating my children. So today it would be completely emotional, completely from the need of sharing. And so ask yourself if there's one value I would like to teach my children, what would it be? Because that's important. See, when I got married, when I left my home, no one taught me standards. I was rejected by my father. I was abandoned by my father. And so I believed I'm not worth of anything good in my life. What I actually believed is that I'll take the first guy that wants me, and I'll just stick with him, because, my own dad didn't want me. So he wants me. So I have to just stick with it, right? He doesn't hit me. He's just, using emotional and financial abuse. That's okay. I can deal with that. No, it's not. I actually had to lower my standards in that relationship. Right now, I teach you how to learn your standards, and I teach you how to learn your boundaries in my ebook, Queen by Choice, because I feel like every woman should know this. Every one of us should have standards. Because think about it, if you're uncertain, if you have 1% of doubt, if you have half of 1% of doubt that your partner is not the best choice, your body can hear it. It will create nervous system dysregulation. And that's exactly what happened to me. And this is what my body was trying to communicate with me. And who knows if the constant stress about it was not the reason that I lost my very first pregnancy. Because technically I should have 6 children. I have three. So the reasons back then that were unknown to me, besides the diet, besides the unhealthy lifestyle, there's so many things that we were not aware of 20 years ago. And yet here we are. And that only tells us how perfect our body is. So I want you to keep that in mind. And here are some book recommendations for you that helped me along this journey. Of course, along with Mark Wallen, it didn't start with you. If you ever lost a child like I did, he has a beautiful meditation, a ceremony that helped me close this chapter many years after. Because when I lost the babies, I just, I grieved, but I didn't know how to get a closure. And he has a beautiful naming ceremony in there and involving those souls in our family, because they will always be a part of me. I will always carry their cells within me. My children are forever a part of me. So Mark Wallen really did go through with those meditations. I highly recommend his book. Another one for you, especially if you have struggles with orgasm, is Mama Gina, Regina's Thomas Howard book, Pussy, a Reclamation. Amazing information, amazing exercises, completely changed the way I look at femininity and my physical body. Dr. Ben Lynch, Dirty Genes. Oh, my dears, it explains a lot, if not everything, because as you know, I have MTHFR gene mutation, which I passed down to one of my sons. I also have Dow enzyme mutation, which means, oh my God, it explains every single thing that went wrong in my pregnancy. Because it's literally histamine intolerance, which of course no one checked. But right now, when I look back at all of my pregnancies, at my miscarriages, that's it. Those are all the reasons. My body was doing its best to support me, but it needed help. And Dr. Ben Lynch explained everything to me. Another one, of course, is The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, because it talks about what you need to understand. You need to understand, my friends, that your beliefs influence your thoughts. Your thoughts create your emotional state. Your emotional state manifests as your physical body. Again, because this is super important and you need to know this. Your childhood beliefs, your core beliefs, and you have a belief about everything, They influence your thoughts. Your thoughts, whether positive or negative, create your emotional state. Your emotional state manifests as a healthy body or as a sick body. And Dr. Bruce Lipton explains it from a perspective of epigenetics. There's no better book than to have it explained. Now, if you struggle, like I did, with your relationship with your mother, Susan Forward wrote an amazing book that really helped me kind of understand what's happening, because I wasn't aware that I was continuously being abused and belittled and gaslighted. So she wrote a book called Mothers Who Can't Love. But reading that book really put me down, really put me in a victim's mode. So what I suggest is, after reading Susan Forward's book, Mothers Who Can't Love, for you to read Colin Tipping's Radical Forgiveness. Because if we understand that what our mothers did wasn't on purpose and it taught us a lesson, it actually made me a better person. Because today I have so much understanding about emotions and about how the past influences me today. And I can share this with you, and I can teach this, to the future generations. Then I'm actually grateful for the life that I had, even though back then I didn't think it was perfect and I continuously thought about running away. I even thought about not wanting to exist. But today I am grateful for it. And I understand that it had a reason. But there had to be logic explained step by step. And this is what I'm telling you to do. By reading, you expand your perspective. You widen your horizons, and you have more capacity of understanding. Oh, so my father, he didn't do it on purpose. He just didn't know how to be someone else. He didn't know how to take responsibility. He didn't know that no one taught him. Literally, no one told him, hey, you're a bad father. Because back then, he was acting like a typical father. The generation that I was born into in communist Poland was the generation of absent fathers. So to a society, he didn't do anything wrong. But to me personally, he broke my little heart in a million pieces, and it took me my entire life to piece it back together, suffering along the way, learning what I've learned. And now I have two choices. You always have a choice. I can look at my life and be in my victim's mode, blame, complain, okay, be negative. Or I can say, hey, but I learned this, and I learned this, and I am who I am today, thanks to this. And sometimes our parents teach us the hardest lesson of all, who not to be in life. Imagine how hard it is to show us who not to be. But sometimes that's the lesson. And I learned it. And I know today I do not want to be like my parents. I love them dearly. I'll never stop loving them. They gave me my life. I am extremely grateful for my life. But I have boundaries that if they cross, like anybody else, they lose access to me. Very simple. And that is also what I teach in my ebook, Queen by Choice, because you have a choice every single day. We make a choice, whether we're positive or negative, whether we're playing the game of blaming or the game of understanding. And yes, I know it doesn't seem like it right now, but everything is happening for your greater good. You just don't see it the way I do, but you can. What do I mean by that? I mean that you're struggling with infertility. What if there's a lesson behind it? It could be lesson in the physicality, emotionality, or energy. What if you're missing vital energy? Because let's say you're wasting your energy. It could be. If you understand that in our life, everything happens for a reason. And like I said, the reason could be as simple as lack of vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin E. Could be. A lot of our symptoms are imbalances of vitamins. It could be lack of minerals. You may not be utilizing your magnesium as you should. You may have not enough or too much iron. It could be as simple as that. It could be as simple as having a DAO enzyme mutation and you have symptoms of histamine intolerance. It could be. Or it could be a conflict from your childhood where your relationship with your parents wasn't ideal. Perhaps you as a little girl didn't feel supported. Perhaps your father never told you you're beautiful. And so you started believing you're ugly. Because I did for many years. And I literally had to reparent myself from the beginning. I had to become the mother I always wanted to have. But look at the blessing of the situation. Now my children, they have the greatest version of me because of everything that happened to me. I get chills when I talk about it because it's so wonderful. It's a beautiful story of a pearl. It's a transformation of pain into something useful and beautiful, something that can keep on giving. Imagine that. Imagine if you start looking for the reasons. Imagine if you start being interested in your health and not just trusting your doctors. Imagine if you do the micronutrient testing and you go back to your doctor and say to them, well, doctor, it's not just vitamin D that I didn't have, but I'm also lacking vitamin A, vitamin E, and vitamin B6. Imagine that your doctor doesn't know that you have no calcium because maybe like me, you are lactose intolerant and they never checked. Yes, I do recommend doing genetic testing, but those are expensive. Yes, they are. It is an investment. Now, if you cannot afford them, micronutrient testing, knowing all your B vitamins, B12, B9, B6, B5, B3, B2, B1, I want you to know all of them because that will give us an idea of Okay, maybe there's an issue with methylation. Another marker that I need you to check is homocysteine. Homocysteine is your inflammation marker. If there's an inflammation in your body, and it can be caused by anything, toxins, stress, pathogens like bacteria, viruses, parasites, which foundational protocol works wonderful for. But unless we know that your body is currently going through some sort of inner fight, we will not know. And then again, unless you can relax and trust and understand that there is a divine plan for you. And I teach you about your divine plan in the ebook, Queen by Choice, which again, I highly recommend. I know you've been hearing about it, but it's like my baby. I created this ebook for your purposes to understand that you're never alone. There is a higher power in all of us. We all have this creation energy in our heart. And sometimes there are lessons that we do not learn, but how to explain it so that you understand? My lessons kept on showing up until I learned them. The moment I learned them, the moment I understood, I stopped playing the blaming game and I started understanding. Everything changed. My whole life went from being horrible to being fantastic. And I am so grateful for my body. Even though for so many years I blamed it for being imperfect, for losing my children, for struggling so much. But now when I think about it, my body got me through it all. My body was showing me symptoms that meant a deeper conflict. And I was just not understanding what it's trying to communicate with me. Your body always communicates, always. We just kind of tend to ignore the communication. Thank you. So for those of you who do follow me on Instagram, I'll see you there, Universal Mama Lena Academy. Please visit my website, umlacademy.com. And don't forget to ask questions. Be interested in your life. I want you to know that your healing can be happy if you understand that there is a reason for everything. When I started first researching MTHFR gene mutation, within moments, I became so grateful that I have children because it's nearly impossible to get pregnant and to keep the pregnancy when you have MTHFR gene mutation, especially if you have two variants. So when I understood that my body did what it had to do, and keep in mind, every pregnancy I gained over 80 pounds. That was not normal, but my body was doing what it was meant to do. It was keeping the babies alive. And I didn't care if I gained all that weight because I lost it all afterwards, but it was necessary at the time. And imagine the fact that I was seeing specialist doctors on special diet. I literally ate nothing but vegetables and baked fish. And still I would gain all that weight. Today I understand the reasons for it. And I actually share a lot of those reasons. Gestational diabetes, I explain in my insulin resistance webinar, which you have to request because it's not available to everyone. It is only available to my clients who are ready to start their herbal journey. But I have all the information out there on YouTube. Take advantage of that. Go to my highlights on Instagram. There's the webinars. Check out my posts. I want you to know that it is possible for you to get what you want, but you have to believe it. You have to be at peace and you have to accept your life the way it is today. Now, I want to leave you with that final thought. I used to look for love on the outside. I used to look for happiness on the outside. I didn't know it's a decision. So I looked for love in my husband. I looked for love in my children, in my work, in my pets, in my purses, in my shoes. I didn't find it. Because nothing from the outside will ever give you love. Love, just like happiness, is a decision you make within yourself. You make a decision to fill your self-love bucket. Once it is filled, once you are good to yourself, once you support yourself, Once your thoughts stop criticizing you and start supporting you, that's when you know that love is meant for you to share with others. It doesn't come from the outside. You are complete right now. You are. Maybe you just don't know it, but you are. Nothing will complete you. Believe me, nothing will complete you if you do not feel the completeness right now. And again, I teach that in my programs, in my ebooks. Please find me on Instagram if you have any other questions. I hope this was informative. I know Western medicine completely overlooks the reasons for emotions, and perhaps you have learned to look at your fertility in a different way. So I leave you with that. Happy healing, my friends.